Don't fucking start, mate. Oh, please don't go away with me, mate.
Just listen to me, fans weren't even allowed in the same stadium because 2 people the year before had died.
Jesus. Like, he's moving a bit away from what he's known for, what he's good at.
I do think that those 3 songs are better than anything off the first album, which is controversial.
I'd rather them than the Scousers, to be honest.
Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Vocals from the Locals. My name's James and I'm with Maciej.
You alright, boys?
Luke.
Yes, I.
Callum.
Hello.
And last but not least, Mr. Liam Talbot.
Morning. I don't appreciate you leaving me to the last there, mate.
Don't you worry.
Right where you belong, mate.
You're
right
my favourite. Save the best for last. Alright, what I'd like to take us to first, I'd just like to look back. This is the second episode now. We've made some investments. We're a bit more clued up.
Well,
we know the stuff. We're pros now. Just like to say, Luke, what did you think? What did you think of episode 1?
I thoroughly enjoyed making episode 1.
Yeah, I
enjoyed making it. I enjoyed some of the feedback we did. We received some fairly positive feedback, so I'd like to say thank you to them people. But
17 likes.
Also,
17 likes.
Yes, well, what can you say? But along the positive feedback, you do get a bit of constructive criticism, boys, as you all will well know. So, James, I have some constructive criticism for you, mate.
Go on, hit me.
For all you boys on the podcast. So, it's just some of you may know. I have a brother. Goes by the name of Callum.
He's a good lad.
He's a good lad.
A lot of time for
not this Callum. Not this Callum.
He's a good name.
Not to be mistaken with.
Disclaimer: different Callums. I've got a new microphone, by the way.
He's got a new time.
Having far too much fun with it.
So yeah, I have a brother called. I have 2 brothers. One of them called Callum. And I actually had a conversation with him earlier on today. And he's listened to the podcast and he told me, he says, Luke, I enjoyed it. He says, I did, but I've got a bit of an observation. So I said, Callum, what's your observation? And he says, I do believe that Maciej sounds very edgy. So I said, all right. He says, and I believe James is trying to sound edgy like Maciej, but he's not quite cutting it. And boys, I mean, don't shoot the messenger.
I'd just like to say, Callum, I had a lot of time for you, but you've gone down the rankings. In the order of Barlows, it now goes Kyle Barlow, Gary Barlow, and then right at the bottom, it's now Callum Barlow.
Oh, so, Kyle he'll be filled in here, is this?
But listen, right, is Callum the one with the uni degrees, or is that the other one?
No, that's Kyle. Kyle's the uni one.
I'll just leave that there then.
Oh, that. Listen, Callum. Listen. My mates are mocking it, so if I'm just going to stay out of this. Don't shoot messenger.
Callum, if you want smoke, feel free to message me, lad.
Maciej, you go in with these.
Yeah, Callum, Maciej is probably going to go uni and do music tech. He's coming for you, mate. How do you feel?
Luke is quite literally ducking in the crossfire here. Don't know where to move.
Don't shoot the messenger, boys. But so yeah, that's me. I thoroughly enjoyed.
What I would say, while Luke's delivering messages, Liam has been delivering food. Tell us more about Liam.
Oh, dude, pitch.
Yeah, new job, and I'd just like to reiterate, if anyone from HMRC is listening, I've not been getting paid for this, especially not cash in hand.
Voluntary.
All been voluntary work. My mate Zach just asked if I can do a few, so I said yeah. And the same hand, if anyone from the insurance company for my car is listening, that's not work, just driving about for a laugh.
Sue Smith from Direct Line. If she is listening,
yeah.
No, nothing dodgy going on.
Mate, travel insurance now, mate. Get it right. She'll be the one telling you can fuck off when you ask for your holiday money back.
Why never go Direct Line? Dodgy from the beginning. Stinks.
Yeah, Jimmy, I am with more than, so you know.
Brought to you by Direct Line.
So am I, Liam. Fantastic.
But it's honestly a nice little job. But somewhat past the time a bit. But
pays the bills.
Puts roof on the head. I'm now the primary breadwinner in the family. Mum and Dad on furlough, so I'm now the primary breadwinner in the house.
Yeah, you got to do, aren't you, mate?
Now, speaking of paying bills, Luke's started a music career, aren't you?
Well, some say music career, some say a philosophy. I'll take whatever. I'll take whatever.
What are you on about? No one's ever called it a philosophy.
Mate, don't you worry about me. So
You.
recently, I've been, as many of the viewers will agree, I've been getting a bit bored in this, lockdown malarkey or whatnot. So, so I thought, do you know what I'll do? I'll try and do something useful. So I thought, do you know what? I'll have a look if there's any cheap guitars getting about, acoustic, electric, whatever you want. I had a look, 70 quid minimum. I'm thinking, whoa. Thinking, wait a minute. So I go on Argos, and I'm just looking, and I think, do you know what? Ukulele. Type in ukulele, £20. So I've had a ukulele delivered today, and I've only got as far as tuning it. But so yeah, this time next week I'll be shit hot at the ukulele.
Saying that though, that's a bargain and a half. To be fair.
Well, just got an eye for the man, So that's me. So
Looks like a childhood watching Deal or No Deal, so he knows a good deal when he sees one.
So I've been watching a lot of bargain recently, actually, as well. Like daytime TV. So you got to do.
Bottom of the barrel stuff.
I do believe that I'm not the only one that's made a new music-related purchase. James, talk to me.
See, I've always been a drummer at heart, or at least I thought until now. I've
got the personality of a drummer.
Moving on. So apparently playing drums in a semi-detached house is, antisocial, not allowed, disturb the neighbours. The neighbour is 70. All right, I'm gonna take a little tangent here. Old people, they play both cards. They play the deaf card and they play the you're making too much noise card. Choose which one.
Mate,
you can't be on both teams.
Men, preach, mate, preach.
All right.
I mean, old people are known for enjoying a game of cards from time to time, so you can't really blame them.
Yeah.
But
Golden generation, though, best generation. Or so they say. All right. So what I'd like to say,
Bollocks.
I've given up on drums and I'm moving to the electric guitar business.
Oh, well,
got the Telecaster, got the amp.
You finally want to get laid?
Oh, he's gone low. Come on, boy.
It was never going to happen as a drummer. Was never going to happen as a drummer. It's probably never going to happen, James. It's not going to happen as a bad guitarist, but more likely than if I played ukulele in it. But,
whoa, mate! One of us is a. I'm going to stop there.
Moving on.
Another man who's got a bit of a head start on me on the guitar playing is Callum. How's that been going recently in lockdown? Been giving it a go?
Not gonna lie, mate. It's a bit of a struggle. My fingers are a bit fat, right? So when I'm trying to do the chords, I always find they mute the other strings, so it's not going too well. But I'm getting.
That's one reason why I'd be scared. I feel like I'd do that.
I've got
you should play like the cello or a double bass.
Well, see, the thing is with me, boys, is the reason I got my ukulele is I'm very good with my fingers, so I thought I'd thrive in that sort of side of things. So that's why. That's why it's a guitar.
What are you good on typing on your iPhone now?
Yeah, mate, that's one.
Yeah.
I hope you're
and ukulele too.
What about you, Maciej? What's been interesting recently?
I mean, I've been going for daily bike rides, and by daily bike rides, I mean going on my bike.
In the last week?
No, I've actually been going out every day. But
by daily bike rides, it means an excuse to satisfy some addictions.
Oh yeah, precisely.
Heroin.
yeah, that's the one.
Keep it PG, guys.
Yeah, I've been a bit like that.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, what did I do? Oh yeah, yesterday I did that Instagram live stream which had like 4 viewers at the most at any given time. But
numbers.
Maciej's DJ account will be linked in the description below.
All I want to say, Rome wasn't built in a day, Maciej.
Well, precisely. At the moment, I'm amateur. In a year, I'll still be amateur. In about 5 years, I'll probably still be amateur. But
all I'm going to say is Rome was a good idea.
Oh yeah, true.
I just like to bring it back to your daily bike rides. I've been sort of trying to. I said to myself last night, right, I'm going to get up today. I'm going to go for a run. I got up and I just didn't have it in me. So I thought, you know what, I'll go for a walk. If you believe you're halfway there, it's about the baby steps.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, don't you? You know what I mean? But on the topic,
I believe, Jimmy, you should do that 5K and donate a fiver.
Yeah, but the idea of donating to Virgin, like, you know, on top of Richard Branson.
Not to Virgin.
We'll get on to that.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Luke?
But what about me?
See, you tried to butt in with a point before. You seem.
Maciej just came on the topic of views, and on the topic of views, I'd just like to thank almost 300 of you beautiful people. Well, probably not 300, about 20 odd that have clicked on
fantastic people.
Of you people that have viewed our last podcast, that's a big thumbs up from me.
People
Apart from
taking
that one dislike, and if you're gonna dislike it, say it with your chest. Come for me a day. Sick of it. That's all from me, man.
One lonely dislike. Hey, all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, I'd just like to say big love to anyone taking an hour out of their week to listen to this absolute dross. Listen to us talking rubbish about things we don't know much about. But
precisely,
we've seen
what we like to see.
But yeah, we're enjoying it, and that's the main thing. Now, what I'd like to take us on to is the record of the week, which this week is the sophomore album by Gerry Cinnamon called the Bonny.
Oh.
I'll start with Liam because you're a big Gerry fan.
Well, I mean,
he's opinionated.
See, I'd say I've said this before. Out of the five of us here, I'd say I'm definitely the biggest Gerry fan. I'd say I'm the only one who classes myself as a massive Gerry Cinnamon fan. Seen him like 4 times. You know, I saw him 2 days in a row on his tour in November. But the thing is with Gerry Cinnamon, and it's like, his first album was brilliant, and I loved his first album. Don't get me wrong, I love this album as well. But if you ask anyone what they think of Gerry Cinnamon, they play devil's advocate of, don't like his music, but he looks unreal live. Now, I don't listen to this album and think these songs will get crowds bouncing. Yeah. They're all slow. They're all, you know.
He'll rely on songs from the first album in his live set.
Apart from songs we've already heard, singles, such as Cancer, Dark Days, which I've seen live already and can confirm they do get the crowd going. When you're talking songs like War Song Soldier, that's not going to get a crowd going. You know,
it's not like
that's what I feel, and that is a very good song still. And that's why I still think it's a very good album. But he's moving a bit away from what he's known for, what he's good at.
Yeah.
What would you say is a standout song on the album, Liam?
Standout songs, I mean, they were already released as singles before, but Dark Days and Sun Queen for me are just unreal quality. I mean, I know Callum, you'd also class yourself as a fan of him. You've seen him, I think, the same amount of times as me. What was your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm not a massive Gerry fan, but I do like seeing him live because of just the way he controls a crowd and how bouncing he gets it. But I do have to disagree with you saying that he's straying away from what he's known for, because I think the majority of this album is what he's known for. Like, there's a good 5 songs that were released that he's been playing for God knows how long.
Very true.
But I like the way that he's integrated more different types of songs. It sort of reminds me of like an early Bob Dylan, like folky type.
It's a very bold statement. Very bold statement.
Yeah, like War Song Soldier, that reminds me of a really early Bob Dylan, like 60s Bob Dylan.
Right, okay.
And I really like how folk he is, especially in nowadays. The only people I can really think of are him and Jake Bugg that are still sticking to that type of music.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to see, but I don't know. I just think all his songs sound the same, really, other than the ones that are bouncing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
Other than that, I'd say it's a solid album.
What would you say then, Callum? Standout tracks and rating out of 10.
I'd go for
your rating out of 10 as well.
I'd go for Sun Queen, Canter, and War Song Soldier, and I give it a solid 7. 7?
What about you, Liam?
I mean, considering last week when we covered The Strokes, The New Abnormal, I'll give that a 9. I'll have to give this a 7.5, I'd say.
Oh.
I am the only one, to be fair, who's listening to it on record. I've got the record of it. But I don't know, the New Abnormal by The Strokes, I just feel like that was a lot better.
Yeah.
Why? What would you say you think, James? Because I know your opinions on Gerry Cinnamon are very different to mine and Callum's as a whole.
My opinion on Gerry Cinnamon changes constantly. I first discovered him as a live act rather than his albums. I found videos of him on YouTube, and his live sets look fantastic, and I'm yet to see one, but I was hoping to see one at this year's Leeds, but it's not looking likely. So when I started listening to the album, the first three songs.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Go on.
Slow down.
So, yeah. Saying that never happened. Right. So what I'd like to say, first three thoughts. Oh, I'll do it again. First three songs.
Hey.
Canter.
Oh, come on, man.
Is it War Song Soldier, the second song? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, War Song Soldier.
Yeah. And Where Are We Going? I think they're all brilliant songs. And I was thinking to myself, when I was listening to the album and I was at that stage, this is better than his last album. And I do think that those three songs are better than anything off the first album, which is controversial.
Very.
But after that, I thought it was extremely forgettable. And even though I thought the first three songs were catchy, none of them left any real lasting impact on me. And I think that's a common theme with Gerry's music. As far as my opinion, it just doesn't... It leaves me with nothing much to say about it. It's just sort of... It's like the humble, ready salted crisp. It's like... it's like... No one's got much to say about it, but it's every now and then you'll take a ready salted crisp, but you never look back and think, oh, that was a lovely packet of crisps. Forget a packet of crisps.
But not notable.
Is it bad that I will choose a ready salted pack over any other?
I mean, that says a lot about you, Liam, to be honest.
We could talk about this for an hour, so let's save that for another day.
It's almost like James put us onto this topic, isn't it?
I'd like it was a metaphor, actually. So what I'd like to finish. Big words for you there, Callum. Keep him listening. So, standout songs, I'd have to go Canter and War Song Soldier. They're both brilliant songs. It's got some good, catchy songs which will be played live, but overall, I didn't think it was that good. I'm going to go for 6 out of 10. Over to Maciej.
Right, so my opinion on Gerry as a whole, I have to respect him because as much as I hate to make this comparison, he's taken the same kind of pathway as Ed Sheeran in the sense that he started off busking. And you can tell that by his tracks that he started off as a busker. He still carries that vibe around him. He still carries that sort of aura about
He still is a busker. He just plays to loads of people.
That's a very fair point.
Everyone.
But yeah, overall, I have to say I very much enjoyed Erratic Cinematic. I thought it was a good album, you know. However, I'm not going to allow myself to call myself a fan, if you know what I mean. I can't really call myself a fan in the same way that like Liam does. You know, I've never seen
an air conditioner.
Well, yeah, funny you. But with this album, I do have to say the majority of it, I thought it was a bit bland. As much as I do appreciate his voice, I think he's got an absolutely quality voice, no doubt about it. And you know, he's good on the guitar. Uses the loop pedal well, especially live. But overall, I just thought this as an album was quite bland. And even though I do enjoy my Bob Dylan, my Jake Book, this as a folk, it almost sounded like a full-on folk album, with the exception of maybe like Canter or like possibly Mayhem. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it all that much. And I do agree with you, however, that you know the first three songs quality, and then it kind of just merges together. You couldn't really tell the songs apart. Yeah, definitely. But yeah.
What are your standout tracks and score out of 10 then?
I will say War Song Soldier. I know that's been a very common theme, but I have to say it is a very good song. Head in the Clouds, just because I like it as a slow tune. You know, I was listening to it last night and I very much enjoyed it. And I'm going to have to say Mayhem. I'd say Mayhem is a very good tune off that album.
Solid choices.
I have a very quick question, boys.
Go on.
What does everyone think of the title track, The Bonny?
Oh, I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely
It's decent. It middle of the pack. I just like I'll let Luke go, but I'd like to make another point.
Cheers, mate.
Maciej out of 10 first, and then we'll move on to Luke. And then,
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, guys.
No worries. I'll probably have to go with. Do you know what? I'll give it a 6.5 just because it's, you know, I do respect Gerry Cinnamon as an artist, I guess, but overall, you know, just an album. It's not exactly a playlist maker, to be honest with you. For me.
Okay. Go on, Jimmy. What were you? Oh, no, it's Luke, isn't it? So
we'll go to Luke.
Well, you know, it's a fairly simple one for me, guys. So Gerry's first album, Maciej, I got it on record. I really did enjoy the first half. No, let me reiterate the first half. I must have listened to the second half of it on my record once. I just thought the second half, it was just a bit, you know, it weren't really all that for me. So,
are you looking for an argument, mate?
Mate, no, I'm not looking for an argument, mate. I wouldn't want any trouble with you, mate. Not at all. So yeah, first half I really enjoyed. Second half, forgettable, in my opinion. But that's the first album, obviously. But we're talking about the second, so that brings me to the second. So I gave it a listen, and I was severely disappointed. And I had fairly low, sort of, what's the word? I had like a low standard in my head for it. Low expectation. That's the
bar was low.
The bar was low, and I still just found it so forgettable. I'd like to say I enjoyed 2 tunes on it, maybe. You know, it's just even the singles that got put out. Like, obviously, Radioheads were all over him, and I just didn't really enjoy the singles. I enjoyed Cantor, obviously. That's probably like,
yep.
That's very old, but forgettable album. Not anything too special from my side of things. I've got 2 tunes on it though that were fairly standout.
Yeah.
Which one of them would be Cantor, obviously. I just come back to the original point. And the second one, no one said an honourable mention to Every Man's Truth, the last tune on it. I did enjoy that one. And I don't know why, but it was a bit.
I wouldn't put it in my bed, but it is a good song.
You think it was personally my second favourite on it. I don't know why. But overall, album rating 5.5 out of 10. Nothing special whatsoever. It's really disappointed. The only reason I got onto him was James, so credit to James.
Yep.
But that was about a year and a half ago. Things changed. So 5.5 out of 10 for me.
I'd just like to add, just before we wrap things up and go for a break, I do think, although I give his album 6 out of 10, I think the guy's a really talented songwriter and musician.
Oh no, I'm not disputing that.
I think if he's too bothered about being his image, about the guy who does everything on his own, does everything naturally. I think if he changed things up a bit more, and he had a good live band behind him, it'd make his sound a lot bigger. And
lyrically, though,
he's got touches of brilliance. Like you see, he's got a lot of potential as like a lyricist. But
like lyrically, some of his lyrics are absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. No.
Me and James.
So that's just what I like to say. I've given his album some stick, but I think as a songwriter, he could go a long way. Anyone like to add anything on the album?
I mean, I just like. Oh, go on, Luke.
No, that's it from me. I said so.
So I just like you're saying. It's just a comment on what you just said there. You're saying he could go a very long way. I mean, before the guy's even released this second album, when it was in speculation, he sold out arena tour of the UK, and he's doing a massive outdoor gig. 50 to 60,000 people at Hampden Park in Scotland. You know, where the
to see one person realistically.
Yeah,
and for him on his own, he's doing so. He's undeniable.
Yeah, I'm not discrediting his success, but when I was saying that, I more meant in terms of his style and discography. Like, he could have a really interesting back catalogue. But if you look, one sec, let me finish my point. If in the next 5 years, if Gerry Cinnamon changed things up a bit, had a bit of a reshuffle of his style, and then his live shows will probably be untouchable. But in 5 years, if he carries on what he's doing now, it'll just very slowly
become
monotonous.
It'll fade away.
I agree with you in some parts, James, but if you look at people like Dylan, who he's quite similar to, they never really needed a backing band to
He's not Bob Dylan.
I know he's not Bob Dylan, but it's a similar type of music. I don't really.
I'm not
think
saying he
completely.
doesn't. He'll always sell records just because of how big he's got. But I think he's got a lot of potential as a songwriter to be a lot more interesting than he's.
To like widen his palette.
Yeah, if he does have a band in there, it'd be nice to see. But I don't think he definitely needs to.
Not even necessarily a band. You should get an electric guitar. Just change things up a bit.
True.
Make something that just, even if you just tried it, just try. I don't know.
I do agree. To be fair, the electric would be a nice touch to some of the tunes that you could heighten with an electric there. All
right, we're going to wrap it up there, and after the break, we're going to get onto football and the new Newcastle takeover. Right. Right, we're back, and I'd like to start off. There's been a lot of doom and gloom in the news recently with a certain pandemic and all of us being stuck in the house for weeks. But there has been some good news for some of us recently, such as the proposed 300 million takeover at Newcastle United. Now, the resident Newcastle fan, Liam, what do you have to say on that?
Oh, honestly, I mean, being the only non-Man City fan in here, this is like, it's like I'm attacking a full herd of lions. But
mate, honestly, all the Arab money, mate. Don't you worry.
Yeah, exactly. The oil classico.
Oil money, mate. Don't you worry.
But I don't know. It's not like I wanted a new owner, but it's not like I was sitting here begging for the biggest investment the Premier League's seen with, like, I don't want to have to be getting a kit with Mbappe on the back next season. That's not what we wanted. You
just wanted some ambition as a club, someone who cared about the team.
Yeah, I'd say that as a collective from Newcastle fans as a whole, we didn't want. It's not like we were asking for all this money. Yeah, we just want success. We don't. It's more the sense of like, we just wanted Mike Ashley gone as a big factor. I couldn't start.
He's the worst human being, isn't he? He's a horrific man.
I can say that it's been summed up in a flag that I saw from a Newcastle end, a picture I saw on Twitter of a flag. And it says, "We don't demand a team that wins, we demand a club that tries." And I think that sums it up pretty much.
He was just any time Newcastle. Is it 10 years he's been there? 12?
14, isn't it?
14, yeah, 14. I was going to say it's longer than 10,
since 06.
Yeah.
So any time you've seen a good player at Newcastle, you've just seen the player sold to your Chelsea's, United's, Arsenal, Cities, and then
even Crystal Palace, if you consider you want to buy.
Good player, to be fair, but there's been no reinvestment or ambition back into that team. He just wants to do the bare minimum to keep turning a big profit on the Premier League team.
Exactly.
Even you had a get out of jail free card with Rafa Benitez last season, and letting him go, I think that was the final nail in the coffin with the fans, from my point of view.
Yeah, and it was a sense of like
that showed.
Even Rafa, like, you could see it in him, like, he was getting no investment. He was getting...
He didn't seem to be asking for the world. He just wanted a bit of backing from an owner as a Premier League manager at a huge club.
Under the new projected owner, it's a massive thing that everyone's saying he's going to come back. And they say that because it's being proposed to Steve Bruce that unless he can prove by the end of this season that he is fit to manage a European level side, he's going to go out the door. Unless he can prove it's out the door.
I think that's snide, because I think Steve Bruce has done well with what he's got.
At the deep end.
And as well, Newcastle this season, mate, I mean, you've had a lot of injuries. I'll give you that. You've had a shitter, mate. And Steve Bruce has done a job. So I think it'd be harsh for you to just fucking say to him, right, see you later. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I think
that'd be out of order.
I think he's a great manager, but Rafa with investment will be dangerous.
It would be, but I just think it'd be out of order for you to get rid of, obviously, Bruce after.
For no reason.
Yeah,
it depends. He didn't. When I heard it, obviously I'm not a fan, but you didn't get a feel. It wasn't an ambitious. It wasn't like when City got Pep. Like when City got Pep, you knew that big things were coming. But when as a Newcastle fan, you lose Rafa Benitez, who'd probably been punching above his weight with how well the club was doing. It's like for fuck's sake, more of the same. It was too good to be true. Like, the team was playing well, and it was enjoyable to watch. Steve Bruce, don't get me wrong, he's an okay manager, but I don't think he's an ambitious top half table, interesting football kind of
definitely.
manager, which the club wants and which is going to suit what the owners want.
Yeah,
I think they're going to want to build a brand and what gets other people interested, because it's like a worldwide thing now in it. Football, like, you've got to have a global brand. Realistically,
I'm really happy for Newcastle, me, because for so long they've had probably one of the best supports in the Premier League.
Oh, Callum, don't fucking start, mate. Oh, please don't go away with me, mate.
Just listen to me.
Don't
Listen.
start.
Can you let them
their
put a
supporters.
point across, Luke? There's no
No,
way.
mate,
let the man
can't.
finish.
No, I
Let the
can't.
man finish.
Cover up the fucking lawyers.
Me and Luke, me and Liam speak about this all the time, right? Newcastle do have a top-notch support, all right?
Oh, God.
What? Come on, I can't be getting sick for this, boys.
No, go on, mate. Go on, finish. This is my...
Quid a kid in the FA Cup for you boys, that's all I'll say. Anyway.
And I feel I'm very happy that Newcastle are going to finally get the chance to be a top-level club with investment from a good owner. Do you know what I mean?
I'd rather them than the Scouts, to be honest.
Luke, so
Go on, mate.
you're arguing this about the fans, right?
Mate...
Not to do with the fans. Listen, it's not to do with the fans so much. But do you believe? Do you not think Newcastle fans deserve it?
No.
Why?
You don't think they deserve it at all?
No club does it. Why do they deserve it?
Well, no. Why don't
they deserve a big fuck off takeover? Why don't
because they've not. No, it's because of the whole Ashley thing. It's like a balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Ashley is by far the worst owner in the league. No one else has an owner that is just a parasite.
It's bad, don't get me wrong, but it's bad, and obviously, if that's the score,
I wouldn't say you deserve it,
but you don't deserve it. Deserves it very strongly.
I'm happy for him, though. I'm happy for them.
I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I probably should have used a different word to deserve. I'm thinking about.
Say you're not, Luke.
To be fair, Newcastle as a club, I've not got much against. It's just the deluded fan base that fucks me off about Newcastle. And Liam, I'm not coming for you here, mate, because you're not right. But there's a lot of Newcastle, like the stuff that you see on Twitter, just the Newcastle fans, and it rattles me, mate. It rattles me.
Rude Geordie.
Not to name any names, but our podcast is better than yours, True Geordie. Fuck off. But anyway,
listening to this.
Tyson Fury, you are welcome to come on. If you want. Don't be shy.
Or Tyson, if you're listening and you don't want to come on, feel free to invite your dad.
Yeah, will do. But no way. No, I think I'm harsh towards Newcastle because the fans ruin it for me.
Never shut up about them.
Yeah, mate, because they're bad. They're bad. So yeah,
they had a bit of we were good in the 90s.
Yeah,
but I think that's going. I think that's going because they've just been.
It's changing, obviously, it's just. I can accept that we do. A few of the fans do live in the past a bit. But it's like, you can say that with many clubs. You can't single us out for that at all.
The thing I think, you get on the one hand like that, but on one hand, it reminds me of City in the way that before City's takeover, I don't know if you heard the phrase typical City, we'd just mess everything up in the most... they'd get our hopes up constantly, but no one ever thought we'd do anything. I think Luke can agree with me on that.
Yeah. That's the thing. Everyone used to like City when we were like that, but now we're actually doing something. Everyone fucking hates us and slanders us for all this Arab money and that. So
that's the thing. I've never slandered anyone for oil money, any clubs for oil money, but
it's not.
Go on.
It's not the club's fault if a rich prince wants to invest in them. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it. It's, from my point of view, especially as someone that I don't pretend to know a lot about football. I support City. I go to matches when it's possible. I don't have a season ticket. Well, yeah, precisely, Callum. Callum, me and Callum can agree that we just fucking use James and Luke's.
When there's a spare ticket.
Yeah, precisely.
This episode is sponsored by George Tarpey's City season ticket.
Well, on that point, James, can I just I'd like to thank you for taking me to the first ever City match in year 5 because that was the first.
Thank me, thank my dad, who you said looked like the inbred son of bootlegger and Mr. Bean, but still.
Which isn't too much of a lie, though. I can see where it's coming from. Facts only, mate. Facts only in this.
These are not opinions of mine.
We've gone on a bit.
Go on, Liam.
There,
Bring it back to Liam.
We've gone on a bit of a tangent there. I mean, I'm just in. I can't believe that, like, in the sense of what Luke's saying, like, it shouldn't, like, he's not happy about it and that, because what Mike Ashley's done for that club, and you can't deny that he is single-handedly destroying the club. And you can see it when, like, for example, this season, the amount of boycotting there was for games.
Mate, bollocks. That weren't boycotting, just couldn't stand out.
Luke, let's not start that argument.
All right,
That's like me saying City don't get a full house at Burnley at home because they're boycotting.
It's not. City don't have anything to boycott for. Lads. Stop going
Yeah, you've not got anything to boycott about. You got a bad owner, but you'd still go to the game if you're a football fan.
Everyone I can promise you thousands boycotted.
It's like Peter Swales at City back in the day. We still used to
get
get 30,000 plus attendance at Main Road.
We're not having a hoot.
James, what do you want us to do, mate? It's a podcast. What are you trying to get me to do, mate?
I don't want a who's got better fans argument because it's just a pointless debate.
Luke just doesn't listen to anyone else about it.
I'd like to just take us back to something Ashley's done recently, which I know didn't surprise me and probably didn't surprise many people, but even though his club, which he doesn't invest in, has therefore made huge profits, he's decided to put all the non-playing staff on furlough, just try and get that extra little bit of money out of the government when the government is on its knees in a current economic crisis. Yeah, that's true.
On him as well.
It's just not surprising with Mike Ashley, which is really sad.
It's just a massive dickhead move, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well as on the same page as that, Mike Ashley keeping Sports Direct open for as long as he possibly could, saying it classes as essential.
He's just a leech, isn't he? He's a leech.
Yeah.
Him and Tim Martin, I've got no time for at all. They're the two worst people in the country. Bold statement, but I just hate them both.
Yeah. I mean,
back onto this furlough thing.
Martin.
Go on, Callum.
What we're all thinking about is, I just think it's just wrong.
I think some people that are doing all right for themselves and doing it is wrong. Like James told me about that Richard Branson before. That's wrong. If you need it, then you need it.
The whole point of the furlough was for small businesses not to go under. And then there's massive football teams like Liverpool, Tottenham, top flight, and quite high in the table that are making enough money to carry on. They're just taking advantage of it. It's just...
Yeah, well, they done it and reversed it, didn't they? Because they got a bit of bad press, but that says it all, doesn't it?
It says everything, like, if they could get away with it, then they would.
They'd have done it. Yeah, if they'd have done it.
Sorry when they get caught.
Yeah.
It just shows how the game of football has just turned into a money-making machine, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's like what I'd like to say, regardless of what people say about City's money, we are an extremely well-run club, and our head directors are supposedly taking pay cuts. None of the staff have been put on furlough. They're all being paid in full. And I just like to further that the players, it just seems like a good club to be at if you're a player. The players seem to get looked after very well. And they deal with things well. We don't have players unhappy and transfer sagas going out in public, which just doesn't look good for anyone involved.
Yeah.
What about you, Maciej? What do you think on the furlough situation?
Well, I have to say it's just I can't respect it. I really can't. Like, there's nothing respectable about it. It's like Callum said. It's meant to be for small businesses, not huge. You know, it is a business. I hate to call it a business, but it has become a business. It's a massive business.
Yeah.
That involves millions, sometimes billions of pounds, and it's just wrong. And I agree with James on the fact that City, we've had our share of bad press, especially in recent times. The whole pandemic, with UEFA or whatever you. Am I right in saying UEFA? With the whole, yeah. So especially with that, we do handle things well, and I mean that's all I've got to say on the topic. It's meant for small businesses, not places like Newcastle where there's a.
It's supposed to say it's meant to preserve the economy, not just further give money into the hands of these billionaires.
From my side of trying to sound like I know anything about football, I'd like to move on to Luke. Oh wait, who are we moving on to?
I've already made a point. Oh well, no, I've already said once. But
here's one thing, Luke. What do you think? What do you think of the government, in particular the Health Secretary Matt Hancock, saying on TV that he thinks footballers need to do more, almost labelling them as a scapegoat?
I think, see, it is a sticky one, isn't it? But I do think I can see both sides, mate. I can see both sides of the coin. I can see that they are on a stupid amount of money for what they do. I think we can all agree on that. However, I don't think that he has the right to call someone out and say you need to take pay cuts, because you don't know what, like, say football, say Bernardo Silva, for example, random footballer. Say like he's saying to Bernardo Silva, you need to take a pay cut. Bernardo Silva, he might have stuff that needs to pay for. Like, footballers' careers finished 35, game over. That's it. So obviously he has to sort something out for his later life. Do you know what I mean? So he might be saving a certain amount a month. He might have a house that he's got to pay for. Obviously,
Sky Sports twice a year.
That's what I mean. So it's like it's not in that lad's hands to tell someone else whether they should like take pay cuts or not. That's my opinion.
Especially, there's the argument. The football's made the argument that their huge tax payments, which obviously I'm not going to say there will be footballers who do dodge tax, but most of them will be paying it. That are providing huge amounts of money for the NHS, which is under incredible amounts of stress.
But it's I just don't think it's right for him to tell someone else what they should do with the money. It's not his place.
Footballers are in the public eye, and it's easy to point the finger at their wages, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maciej, go
on. On that point, I'd like to say with the whole Matt Hancock, the thing I've got a problem with is that he's focusing on footballers. Like that's the only kind of like group that.
That's the precise issue. There's a lot of other high earning sectors.
And can I just say this might sound like a very like general kind of like assumption, but there's 54 billionaires currently in the UK. I think I'm right in saying that. 54 billionaires. 54 billionaires. Let's say each one of those billionaires has 1 billion to their name as a net worth, right? If each of them, I think it's, what was it? I'm trying to remember the percentage, but if each of them took like 5% of their whole like income or net worth, like if each of them gave 5% of their income or net worth towards the NHS, we'd have roughly £540 million like at our disposal. And consider we've got like I forgot the chap's name, the guy that's he's 100 years old and doing laps to raise money for the NHS.
Tom Moore.
Tom
Moore. Yeah. I think it's absolutely silly that it's 2020 and we're
relying on people like him
on a war veteran to walk round a garden to try and raise money for a government funded organisation. But yeah, Callum, I'd like
they've marketed. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I don't think it's any place for someone in politics to blame footballers for it when it's just the failure of our government. I voted Conservative, but at the end of the day, we shouldn't need to rely on people that have earned the money for the government's failures to actually sort any sort of financial.
Callum, can I just say, like, I'd like to say first of all, like me, like I personally respect any sort of political view. I'm not really bothered personally if I was allowed to vote. If I was an English citizen, I'd personally vote for Labour. But I'd like to just ask you.
It's again without crying.
But Callum, do you regret voting for Conservative in our current state?
In a way, yeah, but also in a way, no.
Right. Okay.
I would have voted Labour if it wasn't for Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, you hear a lot of that. You hear a lot of that nowadays, don't you?
My family have always been Labour supporters, always have been.
Yeah.
So it would have been right just for me to go into Labour. But then I started listening to both, and I just thought Jeremy Corbyn was a bit too socialist, and I think in this time he probably would have put us into more debt than we would have been with Boris.
Right.
But
okay.
Boris isn't doing a great job either.
Then you've got to ask the question of like, what, like this recovering from debt, what's that at the cost of?
A lot.
Because the national debt's still growing at about $5,000 a second, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that's 60 grand per taxpayer.
That'll win the corner.
At the same time,
Captain A-level economics over here.
No matter who was in government, Labour or Conservative, the country would have been in the shitter anyway. So it's not. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, right. I like to bring it back from politics because we don't want to delve too deep into that.
Yeah, it's a sticky topic.
That's cool. You know. Yeah. Go on.
I'd just like to discuss the changes in football over, say, the last 40 years regarding money, the monetisation of the game, how the game's changed as a player, how the game's changed as a fan. And I'd like to start with Luke Smith. What do you have to say?
So I'm gonna have to come at you with a cheeky stat. At first, I think the first £1 million transfer, a man called Trevor Francis.
Trevor Francis, yeah.
Who went to Nottingham Forest, and so my mum has told me something that my granddad said around about the time of that. I think in 1979 was it, something like that.
Yeah, it was around that. It was around 80.
And apparently, as that transfer went through, he said, "That's it. That's football done. It's just a business now." And I believe he had a very, very good point, because I do love football, but it's all just money in it. That's at the end of the day. That's all it is. It's all just one big business, and it is a shame when you see, you know, like 89 million, 90 million spent for a football centre mid. Like, yeah, Harry Maguire's like...
Indirect dig at Paul Pogba right there. I like it.
I know what you're talking about, mate. But for a player that doesn't even want to play for his club, you know what I mean? So it's one of them. So I do think it is a bit of a shame, but at the same time, it's only to be expected with the amount of money that's in football. But
it was bound to happen, wasn't it, due to that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So what's true for it?
It does sum up the current state of football when you say they're not clubs anymore, they're businesses.
Yeah,
people invest in them because they want a return. And I'm not going to sit here and slag off the fact and sit here and say, oh, money's ruining it. After 5 minutes ago, I was praising the fact that Newcastle are getting a £300 million investment. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and slag that off, but it is the fact of it's changed so much just with like big businessmen seeing the potential for investment.
Yeah, that's the thing, that's the potential.
Yeah, you could also say it's your end of the spectrum as well. You're like the business side of football brought Newcastle to its knees, so it's seen both sides of it.
It's completely changed the way
both sides of the business of football. The only thing I don't agree with, and I'll say this even with this Newcastle investment going ahead, there's Saudi princes and so on investing hundreds of millions into clubs. Yet, for example, all of our local club, Bury FC, died last year. You've got teams currently in the lower league, such as Macclesfield, who are, I'm pretty sure it's Macclesfield, who are on the verge.
Yeah, Macclesfield are in the shit. Yeah.
Never mind, I can name non-league teams.
Yeah, Bolton are in the shit.
Bolton were until they got an investment. I can, for example, a non-league team, Matlock Town. Most of you won't have heard of them, but they're relying on crowdfunding and donations from the people to keep their club alive during this thing. And it's when you see like all the investments by these massive clubs, it just does hurt a bit to think like how it's affecting these smaller clubs.
Yeah, no, I'm on that.
See, I think the business side of football has completely changed the way fans enjoy football. Like, with the bigger the stadium gets, the atmosphere, in my opinion, changes. Like I've always been a Bury fan, and I've also always been a City fan. But with the smaller clubs where it's like still a fiver to get in, and then the stadium's on like 2,000-3,000 capacity, the atmosphere is better there. It's more fan orientated. Whereas when I go to a City game, it's not the same. It feels different.
Hey, don't you go chatting shit about Family Stand Blues, because we will have some issues, mate. We will have some issues.
I'm not saying that.
No,
and the prices of season tickets at City as well is just stupid.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that stops me going seeing them week in, week out. It's the money.
I also do get that, because it's like, I'm going to use it like an away game for an example. Like £30 is what the ticket's capped at, which at first it's like, it's all right, it's like 30 quid. It's like, it could be worse, but then it's like you're talking about coach as well. 30 quid coach if you go London. You know what I mean? And obviously, it just adds up. You know what I mean? So
obviously, being
I do envy like £12 tickets. From the lower leagues. It's like, what a treat that would be.
Yeah, like, it's got to the point,
especially Luke. Like when you're away at teams such as, I don't know, did you go either say Southampton, Norwich, any of them?
I've been Norwich.
You went Norwich. It's like at that point you've got to look at things like hotels and that as well.
Yeah, well, I went on the coach, but I think it was 38 quid or something on the coach to Norwich, and it's like it's a lot of money, and it's also fucking mooch. But so like overall, what's that? Touching 70 quid just for like ticket and travel. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it just adds up, doesn't it? So like I do like the idea of a £10, £12 ticket, but you're not going to get that when there's such high demand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I'd like to say is, I think, in a sense, if maybe not before that, but if you look as far back as maybe the 70s, maybe even further, football has always been about the biggest and richest teams buying the best players. I think that goes way back, but it's just the scale it's gone to now. The wealth gap's growing.
Yeah.
And it's. I think what's sad is football should be something more about a community rather than something people watch on the TV for entertainment. It's not just the going. I don't know. It's the meeting your mates before. It's the going to the game. It's the it's the walking back home up the road after. I don't know. There's just something about the whole experience that you can't replicate.
It's not just a game, and I don't want to sound cliche, but for some people it really is a lifestyle. They look forward to. For some of them it's the highlight.
It's an escape. That's what the issue is. Football has always been a game about the working class people. It's always been a working class sport, but it's now at the stage where most people who've been supporting the same team for 40 odd years, for example, City or Liverpool or United, like, if you're not a high earner, if you want to be into football, that's all your money gone. It shouldn't be something that people have to skint themselves on, because they're the people who make the game what it is.
It's been away from the real fans.
Precisely.
Yeah, and that's why you see all the bleeding corporate boxes and tourists nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I just add? A massive part of this is betting to some of us, but we'll only touch on that. The betting side of it all. That's massive.
Liam is 18. Can we just clarify?
Yeah, my mate, 18-year-old Liam over there in the corner.
Can I just say I won £2.90 on the Turkmenistan Premier League today, so and I'm not joking. I fully did. I won £2.90 on the Turkmenistan League. Anyway, back to money in football.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I don't think it's at the point. I think in some ways there is things that have changed for the better. Like, football's now somewhere you can take your kid to, and I think you can look at that on both sides. I think that's a good thing. People will say, "Oh, the atmosphere's changed," and a lot of the time, what they mean by that is just there's less fights and it's less intimidating, and it's a lot more inclusive. And I think back in the day, it was a lot more. You've got to be this exact type of person, or we don't want you here at our football ground. I think at
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, I think you get it. You still get it now, but things like racism were really bad in football before it all happened. Things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Even before like the Green Street hooligan sort of like era, if you know what I mean. Like that, I think that film kind of highlights what James is saying about how football was focused on a certain type of person coming to the games, and I think it has kind of evolved since then. And
yeah. But at the same time, it's not just a game. I think some people are often. It is possible to be too passionate about football. Like, I can't say when it was, but there was a World Cup where a Colombian player, I think, scored an own goal. He was killed after the game, wasn't he?
I think he either scored an own goal. He either scored an own goal or he missed a penalty.
It was an own goal.
He got taken out by what's his name, Pablo Escobar, didn't he?
No, he didn't. It wasn't Pablo Escobar. It wasn't Pablo Escobar.
Was it not?
I'm pretty sure it was the Medellin cartel.
It was the cartel, but I don't think it was assigned by Escobar.
Because I remember watching a documentary saying it was.
The guy was called Escobar, Andres Escobar. That was it.
All right. Okay.
I've got something to say about Maciej's point before about the Green Street Hooligans thing.
Yeah.
That film came out at a time where football was being more regulated, and it sort of died with the start of that film. Like, it stopped. The 70s and 80s and 90s was a lot worse.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The thing about that film that a point that I'm going to bring up now is, like, obviously stories that I've heard off Mum and Dad about the football, like back at Main Road in like you say, Callum, the 80s and 90s. It's like every man in the fucking nan was up for it, you know what I mean? But it's like, as that film highlights, if you go to the football,
that's a dramatisation as well.
But if you go to the football looking for a fight, you've got to arrange it. You don't just have a scrap. Now, like, you barely now
in the stands with the away,
We'll have outside the ground, like they arrange, like in that film, they arrange it.
They go, it's almost like a sport, isn't it?
But like you've not seen that for a while, like the scrapping out, like right outside the football, or like people running into each other's stands. You just don't see.
That's not a thing anymore. It's down the back. Outside the pubs.
The only solid violence that you see nowadays in football, and I have to say, repping the country and that, but Eastern Europe and like Greece and Cyprus.
Poland is mad bastards.
I know, but
I know in Russia, the MPs promote it as it is their own sport. They all class it as a sport, and they're all the MPs and everything. The politicians love it.
Yeah,
Russia.
I know. I just wanted to direct it to Callum because I know Callum, you've got some family in Cyprus. Is it on the Greek side? I believe.
It's in southern Cyprus.
And I'm pretty sure. I'm sure you can tell me some stories about like the violence that the football clubs over there have indicted. Yeah,
it's crazy. I went to a game. It was Apoel FC versus their rivals. It was at home in the cup. And the away fans weren't even allowed in the same stadium because 2 people the year before had died.
Jesus Christ!
The violence.
In a way, we can say that being in the Premier League, we are lucky to have it regulated to some extent.
That's right. It is so regulated. Like you just won't see stuff like that in the Premier League unless you really, really try hard, or it's not often whatsoever.
But to be fair, the casual culture and the hooligan culture did bring a lot to the football culture. By no means am I saying the fighting's a good thing, but the culture that it brought with it brought a passion to football.
Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's brought a lot of negatives, and you can't deny that when you're walking down the street, maybe even if it's not like on the day of the football, and you've just got some little 12-year-old lad in his Stone Island, thinking he's dead hard and that, and it's like, you just look at it and you think, just because you've watched Green Street, think you're a dog bollocks. That's
the problem I have. They're not real casuals. They've not looked into it like a lot of other people have. Like, I dress like that, and that's what I feel comfortable doing because I know a lot about the stuff, and it's been ruined by the 12-year-olds that pick up the Stone Island and just think, oh, well hard.
Yeah,
it's the people who wear Stone Island with Alexander McQueen's Deansgate locks that have ruined it for everyone. But moving on. James.
And on that note, we're coming towards the end. We are running out of time. And has anyone got any final words on the topic they'd like to leave us with before we?
I have. What I do have is, so last week we left you all with a sort of question of the week, any sort of beverage.
Simple 2-choice question.
I'd like to give a great shout out to Kev, my dad, who actually commented and
Cheers,
tweeted
Kev.
his answer
Goes a long
to
way. Goes a long
So
way.
yeah,
It
honestly,
does.
we do all appreciate that.
It does
And
go a long way.
My mum probably had an input as well, so we do greatly appreciate that. But it was my dad's account, so we never know.
You know, it does a lot behind the scenes, that sort of stuff. It does. But anyway, so I do like to leave you with a bit of a teaser, guys, and I'd like all of my friends here opinion on this one, and then also feel free to leave a comment or tweet us.
Please leave a comment. It shows you've watched this far, and we do appreciate it.
It goes a long way.
If you've watched this far, yeah.
So the teaser I'm going to leave you this week is it's a question that goes back years, asked by many. So you're in a pub. What is the alpha pub game? Darts or pool? And I'm going to leave that with you all. James, what is the alpha pub game?
Pool. I'm not up for discussion. Pool's more engaging. It's more interesting to watch. It's less predictable. In darts, you just get stuck at the end. In pool, a game is a pretty reliable amount of time if both people have played a little bit. Yeah, there's much more skill involved in pool, I think.
Oh, it's controversial.
I know my mate Liam has a good opinion on this.
I believe strongly. I'm not discrediting pool. I think it's all right to play it pub. You know, if there's a pool table there, we'll have a game of it. But if there's a darts board, then I've not took my eyes off it since I've walked in the pub. Is all I'm saying. I don't think anything as a pub sport compares to darts. Like it's just even just to sit there. Say if two of your mates are watching it, you know, are playing it, and you're just sitting there watching it. It's just a good laugh and everything. The darts. Never mind if you're watching it, say, professional in the World Championships or anything. Like, I couldn't sit there and watch two of my mates play pool. It'd bore me. But if I was sitting there and two mates were playing darts,
that's what I will say.
It's all intense and it's like, I like this.
I'd like to bring back a point. I'd like to add an extra thing. Although I'd much rather play pool, or if I'm in a pub, I'd rather watch my mate play pool. I'd much rather go and see professional darts just because of the culture. Looks fantastic.
See, for me on this as well, in a pub, if you walk into a pub, you see a pool table, you're thinking, there's two queues there. If we look at it as a chalk, there's a triangle and there's balls, you're happy. There you go, pounding, maybe even 50p if you look at. There you go. You see a darts board in a pub. You see a darts board in a pub. There's no darts around. You ask behind the bar, have you got any darts? No, sorry, we don't. Disaster. Do you know what I mean?
Precisely.
So I feel it's more accessible darts. So darts for me. But go on, Maciej. I meant to for me. Fucking hell.
I'm gonna have to agree that darts is the more fast-paced game in the sense that, you know, so you throw one, you go, oh, good score, throw second, throw third, and you know it's kind of more engaging to other people. However, I do prefer playing pool just because I am probably better at it, and with me trying to figure out, you know, especially after a few pints, trying to figure out a good like line of sight to try, you know, but if I even get as far as get to the 8-ball, you know. But for me, it's just personally pool, and you know that's all I can say about it. I'll pass on to Callum for the final note.
See, I've never been that big into darts. It's not really interesting now. Not because I don't know how to play it, just because I don't know. It's never my cup of tea. And yeah, I just really like a game of pool. It's good to play with your mates. It's easily accessible. It's in pretty much every pub you stumble into. Darts, like Luke said, not always going to have a set of darts there for you and your pal.
And can I just say if I don't know if do we know if darts clubs are a thing, as in like a specific place where, you know, darts is the main game in the same way that you can.
Well, they've got that flight club in town, but I don't know if you're taking that as an answer to that.
Hasn't that got pool tables as well?
Oh, fuck those, mate. They'll have them somewhere, won't they?
What my point is, like a pool club, I'd rather go to like a pool or a.
Is a pool club a thing? Is a pool club a thing?
Well, a snooker club is be a pool table in there.
At the end of the day, you asked me if I preferred pool or darts, not snooker or darts.
Yeah.
No, pool.
No, but in a snooker club, there'll be a pool table.
You can get pool. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I very much enjoy that.
I'm pretty sure in my local snooker club there's a darts board as well.
Well, that is just fucking. That's good for them.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Are you going for pool then, Callum?
Yeah, I'm definitely going for pool, but I don't think there's a darts board in thingy.
I think there is. I just think no one uses it.
Well, yeah, it's a snooker club. You're there to play snooker,
Right.
not that.
Well,
Anyway,
anyway,
that it has been a fantastic evening. I'd like to thank you all very much.
Yeah, leave your opinions down below.
If you've watched this far, or listened this far, should I say, thank you very much. We appreciate
you for putting up with
all the
it.
best in our work. So, cheers, boys, and
Cheers.
we'll see you again next
See you
time.
later.
See you later.
In a bit.
Bye.